picture this, right? Your delivery driver just spent, I don't know, the last 15 minutes navigating dense city traffic just to get your late night snack to your neighborhood.
Yeah, fighting gridlock the whole way.
Exactly. But mathematically, he is only like 20% done with his job.
Right, the real work hasn't even started.
Because the final 50 feet of that package's journey, finding a legal parking spot, dodging pedestrians, convincing some doorman to let him in, or just waiting for your apartment elevator, all of that is going to take up 80% of his total delivery time.
It's honestly wild when you break it down like that.
Welcome to the deepest, most complex puzzle in global logistics right now.
It really is the ultimate bottleneck. I mean, as consumers, we just tap a button on our smartphone and expect things to magically appear.
Yeah, like magic.
Right. But behind that glass screen is this incredibly stressed physical infrastructure, and it is currently being reinvented from the ground up.
And exploring that reinvention is exactly the mission of our deep dive today. We are looking into what industry insiders are calling the last mile revolution.
It's a huge topic.
It really is. We want to decode how that next delivery is getting to you faster, greener, and, well, just smarter.
And to piece this all together, we're pulling insights from a really diverse stack of research today.
Right. So we have a massive market projection looking out to 2034 from Dayton Tello on the global on-demand economy.
We've also got some great ground-level 2025 research from the Urban Freight Lab on zero-emission urban freight.
Yeah, and finally, a really fascinating look at Singapore's new national standards for electric vehicle infrastructure, which that one is rolling out in 2026.
It's a really comprehensive mix.
Yeah, let's unpack this.
We really have to start with the sheer scale of the demand here because, frankly, you simply cannot understand the logistics without understanding the sheer volume of stuff we're ordering.
It's staggering.
It is. The market data basically paints a picture of an economy that has completely uncoupled from traditional retail limits.
Yeah, the numbers are just nuts. We are looking at a global on-demand delivery market valued at roughly $342.8 billion in 2025.
Which is already massive.
Right, but by 2034, the Dayton Tello projections have it hitting $1.12 trillion.
Trillion with a T.
Trillion with a T.
Yeah.
That is a compound annual growth rate of over 14%. I mean, we have essentially built this trillion-dollar I want it now economy.
And what's driving that is a fundamental and honestly likely irreversible shift in human behavior.
Blame the pandemic, right?
Exactly. The pandemic served as this global catalyst for delivery apps. But the habit, it stuck permanently.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. The data shows that over 68% of people who were first-time users during the lockdowns, they're still placing weekly or even daily orders.
It's become a utility for people,
Yeah.
not a luxury.
Right. And it's not just pad thai and pizza anymore,
No, not at all. I mean, restaurant food is still the biggest slice at about 38% of the market.
Yeah.
But the growth areas, they're wild.
Grocery delivery is growing at, what, over 17% a year?
Yeah, 70.4%. But the one that really caught my eye is healthcare and pharmacy delivery.
Oh, yeah. That one is huge.
It is surging at an 18.7% growth rate. Like, we are moving into an era where people expect prescription medications dropped at their door in 30 minutes.
Which, you have to realize, requires entirely different logistical mechanics.
How so?
Well, think about it. If a driver takes a wrong turn and delivers a pizza cold, the app issues a $5 refund and you move on.
Yeah, annoying, but fine.
Right. But delivering temperature-sensitive biologics, stuff like insulin or specialized vaccines, that requires an unbroken cold chain.
Oh, I am so glad you brought that up. Because a broken cold chain doesn't just mean a melted product like, a pint of ice cream being ruined.
No, it's way more serious.
Right. It means the actual molecular structure of the drug is destroyed. Maintaining a perfectly refrigerated environment on, like, an electric bike weaving through traffic, that is a whole different ballgame.
It's incredibly complex, yet somehow these platforms are figuring it out.
They kind of have to, right?
Yeah, because the speed expectations from the consumer are only accelerating. I mean, to hit these sub-20-minute delivery windows, companies are heavily deploying what they call dark stores.
Okay, dark stores. These are basically micro-fulfillment centers, right?
Exactly.
And they're placed just like 1 to 3 kilometers away from dense residential hubs. You can't walk in and shop there.
No public access at all.
Right. They exist solely to hold inventory as close to you as legally possible.
Yeah.
It's honestly less like a retail store and more like, I don't know, a casino card counter.
That's a great analogy.
Because the AI isn't using a digital crystal ball. It is just tracking millions of micro variables.
Yeah, like a sudden drop in the weather.
Or local football games starting. Or just historical purchase data. It tracks all that to tilt the statistical odds so that the exact item you want is already sitting down the street before you even crave it.
That predictive modeling is literally the secret sauce here. By analyzing real-time traffic of local events, they optimize exactly where a specific SKU needs to sit at any given hour of the day.
Okay, but I have to push back here for a second.
Go for it.
Because 15-minute grocery delivery sounds amazing on paper, but is it actually sustainable?
You're thinking about the crash a few years ago.
Exactly. We saw this huge wave of ultra-fast delivery startups burn through mountains of venture capital cash a few years back, and then they completely imploded.
Yeah, it was a bloodbath.
So how is this new wave not just another venture capital-funded pipe dream that's destined to crash again?
Well, that profitability reset was definitely brutal. But the research shows it is economically viable now, provided these platforms nail two very specific mechanisms.
Okay, what's the first one?
First is aggressive AI route optimization. They aren't just sending a driver from point A to point B anymore. The machine learning models are predicting, say, restaurant prep times so accurately that a driver arrives exactly as the bag is being sealed.
Wow, so zero idle time.
Right. And then it overlaps the route vectors. A single courier can drop off 3 orders on the same street without ever backtracking.
That's smart.
It is. And doing that drives the marginal cost of those second and third deliveries down by up to 23%.
So basically, the algorithm just makes the trip dense enough to actually be profitable.
Precisely. And the second critical mechanism, the subscription model.
Oh, like Dash Pass or Uber One?
Exactly. The economics of a dark store rely almost entirely on fixed cost. Renting the warehouse, keeping the lights on, paying staff.
Right.
Well, the data shows consumers who buy into a subscription, they order almost 4 times as often as non-subscribers.
4 times, just to feel like they're getting their money's worth.
Yep, human psychology at work. And that guaranteed recurring revenue from the subscriptions covers all those fixed costs.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, meaning each of those frequent, hyper-optimized marginal deliveries we just talked about, those become pure profit.
Okay, I hear that, and honestly, the economics make sense on paper. But we have to look at the massive physical consequence of all this volume.
The environmental impact.
Exactly. If we have $1 trillion worth of individual toothpaste tubes and hot dinners flying around our cities every single day, the carbon cost is catastrophic.
It's huge.
The urban freight data reveals this terrifying statistic. Between 1990 and 2021, freight emissions in the United States grew 5 times faster than passenger emissions.
5 times faster. I mean, we basically solved our convenience problem by creating an absolute environmental crisis.
Yeah, we really did.
Because the heavy-duty and medium-duty delivery trucks feeding those local dark stores, they are primarily running on diesel, and they're just idling in residential neighborhoods all day.
Right. So the obvious macro solution is electrification, right?
Yeah.
Just make them all EVs. But the implementation of that is an absolute nightmare, particularly in the U.S. compared to Europe or Asia.
That part of the research fascinated me because the regulatory environments are just worlds apart.
Yeah, in Europe, a local mayor can essentially draw a circle on a map and declare it a zero-emission zone.
Boom, done.
Boom, no diesel trucks allowed, period. But the U.S. relies on a very different legal framework. The Urban Freight Lab report points out that federal laws, specifically the Clean Air Act and something called the Dormant Commerce Clause, make it incredibly difficult for individual cities to act unilaterally like that.
Right, because the U.S. Constitution's Dormant Commerce Clause, it prevents individual states and cities from passing legislation that excessively burdens interstate commerce.
So a city can't just ban trucks.
No, a local city council cannot just ban a diesel semi-truck that is simply passing through their town on its way to another state.
Okay, so they can't use the stick, which means they have to use the carrot.
Exactly. They have to incentivize the change instead of mandating it.
By utilizing government purchasing power to buy EV fleets, or leaning on massive corporate climate pledges. And to be fair, major companies are actually stepping up to the plate here.
They are.
Pepsi has integrated dozens of Tesla Semis into their fleet. Cisco is deploying these massive Freightliner e-Cascadias, and Amazon has rolled out, I think, tens of thousands of Rivian electric vans across the country.
But procuring the electric vehicle, that is only half the the battle.
Right, the charging.
Exactly. This brings us to the ultimate chicken and egg problem of the whole EV transition. A logistics company might eagerly purchase a fleet of electric vans to hit their climate goals, right?
Yeah.
But they literally cannot charge them because updating the local municipal grid infrastructure to handle that much power takes years of permitting and construction.
Which is where private market startups are stepping in to plug the gap. Literally. Since you can't always get the van to a high-speed charger, they are bringing the charger to the van.
It's a really clever workaround.
The urban freight data outlines this completely new model called charging as a service. So startups like SparkCharge are driving mobile battery banks inside their own vans directly to where delivery vehicles are parked overnight.
What's fascinating here is how the private sector is innovating entirely around public infrastructure gridlock.
Yeah, just bypassing the red tape entirely.
Exactly. Instead of waiting for utility companies to slowly trench new cables out to a parking lot, which is a bureaucratic nightmare, these companies are bypassing the stationary grid for immediate needs.
And for the heavier logistics, the big trucks, you have companies like Forum Mobility building massive charging depots specifically for drayage trucks.
We should probably define drayage for you listening, because it is the ugliest, most critical part of the supply chain.
Oh, absolutely. Drayage is that short-distance shipping, right? Like hauling a heavy shipping container directly from a port to a local rail yard or a nearby warehouse.
Yep.
And those trucks just idle for hours in port traffic, spewing diesel fumes into the surrounding neighborhoods.
It's terrible for local air quality. But by offering high-speed charging depots right near the ports as a monthly subscription, these startups remove the massive capital expense for the trucking companies.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, they don't have to build the chargers themselves. They just pay a fee to use them.
But standardizing those mobile batteries and private charging depots leads us right into our next major hurdle. Because if we're going to plug thousands of 10,000-pound electric semi-trucks into our municipal grids, we are introducing massive physical and digital vulnerabilities. And that brings us to the 2026 Enterprise Singapore Fact Sheet.
Singapore is consistently ahead of the curve on urban planning, and their approach to EV infrastructure here is incredibly proactive.
That's far ahead.
They are elevating their national EV charging standard from an older technical reference to a strict mandatory standard known as SS 722, and that starts in April 2026.
Reading through what this standard covers, I mean, it feels like looking at blueprints for a sci-fi city.
It really does.
They're regulating wireless charging pads where a delivery van just parks over a ground receiver and charges without a driver ever plugging a cable in.
Incredible tech.
They are setting strict protocols for robotic battery swapping stations for heavy goods vehicles, and they're demanding enhanced cable insulation for high-speed direct current chargers. Here's where it gets really interesting, though.
Oh, yeah.
It feels like they are trying to negotiate the global USB-C standard, but for multi-ton commercial trucks.
That's a perfect way to put it.
But there was one detail in the Singapore mandate that genuinely stopped me in my tracks. The cybersecurity requirements.
Yeah, this raises a really important question about the nature of the modern power grid. Because high-power DC fast charger is not just a dumb plug, like a wall outlet in your house.
Right.
It is a highly advanced computer.
Wait, so a truck charger can actually get hacked? I mean, why would a malicious actor even target a battery plug?
Because these chargers have to communicate constantly with the wider municipal energy grid to manage power loads efficiently. You can't just draw that much power blindly.
Okay, that makes sense.
Furthermore, many of these heavy-duty systems allow for bidirectional charging.
Bidirectional, like two-way.
Exactly. That means during peak grid hours, the utility company can actually pull power out of the truck's battery and send it back to the city to prevent a blackout.
Wow. So the charger is essentially a two-way digital bridge straight into the city's critical infrastructure.
Precisely. If an unsecured charging network is compromised, it could theoretically serve as a backdoor. A hacker could manipulate the power draw of thousands of plugged-in trucks simultaneously.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, causing massive spikes that literally blow out local substations. Standardizing the cybersecurity protocols for these fleet management systems is just as critical as ensuring the physical copper cables don't melt.
That makes the stakes deeply personal. I mean, a hacked truck fleet doesn't just ruin a logistics company's quarterly earnings. It causes a localized brownout that shuts off your air conditioning in the middle of July.
Exactly. The ripple effects are huge.
But let's pivot back to the physical street level for a second. Because even if we perfectly secure the smart grid, and we miraculously swap every single diesel delivery van for a clean, zero-emission electric van, we still haven't solved the core issue.
No, we haven't, because the underlying geometry of our cities hasn't changed.
Exactly. A zero-emission traffic jam is still a traffic jam.
Still stuck.
Electrifying a massive delivery truck solves the tailpipe emissions, sure, but a giant electric vehicle still can't pull up to a dense apartment block without blocking a whole lane of traffic. We have to shrink the vehicle for what the industry calls the final 50 feet.
And that final 50 feet is exactly where efficiency goes to die. As we discussed earlier, that jarring statistic from the urban freight research bears repeating.
Yeah, the 80% number.
Right. 80% of a delivery driver's time is spent parked at the curb while they walk around trying to find the right door, navigate an apartment lobby, or wait for an elevator.
Which means the multi-million-dollar, AI-routed, hyper-efficient electric van is just sitting there doing nothing.
It becomes a very expensive temporary storage locker, taking up prime real estate on the street.
This is why the logistics industry is pushing so hard for mode shift, right?
Yes, mode shift is critical.
It's the process of moving away from trucks and vans entirely for that final leg of the journey and shifting the cargo to smaller form factors, like e-bikes and cargo trikes.
The research highlights logistics companies like Net Zero Logistics operating in New York or Beeline out in Portland.
I've seen those.
Yeah, they are using these heavy-duty electric cargo bikes, pulling surprisingly large trailers behind them. And the mechanics of why they work are just undeniable.
Well, they're vastly faster in dense cities, right?
Yeah.
Because they can utilize bike lanes and bypass the gridlock entirely.
Yep.
Plus, they cost a fraction of what a heavy van costs to operate. But bringing thousands of commercial e-bikes into a city introduces severe infrastructure clashes.
It really does. If we connect this to the bigger picture, this is ultimately a war for real estate.
Curb space.
Curb space is the new premium real estate in modern urban planning. To make cargo bikes function at scale, cities have to aggressively reallocate curb space away from private car parking and build commercial e-bike corrals.
Right, because the couriers need safe places to stage the packages, swap out cargo, and obviously charge the bikes.
And that charging aspect has vital human stakes. I mean, we have seen tragic consequences, especially in places like New York.
The battery fires.
Yes, the fire safety issues surrounding gig workers charging cheap, degraded lithium-ion e-bike batteries inside their cramped residential apartments. It's incredibly dangerous.
The research points to cities building public battery swapping kiosks directly on the street to combat this.
Yeah.
By moving that charging infrastructure out of the living room and into regulated outdoor public kiosks, municipalities are actively solving a major public safety crisis.
While simultaneously supporting this mode shift, it is a perfect example of municipal policies scrambling to catch up to the reality of the gig economy.
Yeah, playing catch-up.
But mode shift isn't just about outfitting couriers with electric bikes. The research also focuses heavily on removing the human element entirely.
You're talking about the robots.
The personal delivery devices, or PDDs, companies like Serve Robotics are well beyond the testing phase right now.
Wait, really? They're actually out there?
Oh, yeah. They are already handling small batch deliveries like food orders on college campuses across the country. They operate quietly on the sidewalks, totally electric, mapping the pedestrian environment with LiDAR as they go.
The technology is fascinating, but a robot still relies on the consumer waiting at their door to retrieve the item. Which brings us to perhaps the most effective solution for that final 50 feet bottleneck.
The lockers.
Parcel lockers. The urban freight data looks at programs like Locker NYC, which partners with vendors to install public banks of lockers. Instead of a driver going door to door, navigating the lobbies of 5 different apartment buildings on a single block, they just drop all 5 packages into one secure public locker bank on the sidewalk.
The efficiency gains there are genuinely transformative.
Huge gains.
The data shows that consolidating deliveries to a single locker location reduces the time a truck sits at the curb by up to 33%.
Wow.
And it slashes the overall delivery time by an incredible 78%.
78%, and it completely eliminates porch pirates, which is a nice bonus.
Very true.
But here is the critical point I really want to highlight for you listening right now. The future of delivery isn't just about what Amazon or Serve Robotics or city planners decide to do. It requires us to fundamentally change our own behavior.
That's the hard part.
Yeah, that 78% reduction in delivery time only happens if you and I are willing to put on our shoes and walk a block to a public locker to retrieve our package, rather than demanding it be placed exactly on our doormat. It requires a shift in our own expectations of convenience.
That is the ultimate tension at the heart of the on-demand economy. I mean, we want the sustainability of zero emissions. We want clear streets devoid of traffic congestion.
But we also want our groceries handed to us in 15 minutes while we sit on the couch.
Exactly. Reconciling those conflicting desires is the great challenge of urban logistics over the next decade.
It really is a massive, highly orchestrated system hiding in plain sight. I mean, the next time you tap order on your app for that late-night snack, realize the chain reaction you are kicking off.
It's quite the ballet.
It is. You are triggering a statistical AI algorithm in a local dark store. That store is communicating with a heavy-duty electric truck that might be charging via a mobile battery van, which is coordinating with a standardized, cyber-secure municipal energy grid.
Passing off to an electric cargo bike.
Right, passing off to an e-bike, dodging traffic in a dedicated lane, or maybe a sidewalk robot. And all of them are fighting for the most valuable real estate on Earth, the curb outside your home. So what does this all mean?
It means we are fundamentally rewiring the physical layout of our society to serve a digital economy. And it leaves us with one final, deeply provocative implication to consider.
What's that?
Well, if this logistics network continues to evolve, if delivery becomes entirely frictionless with AI predicting exactly what we need before we need it, robots silently navigating the sidewalks, and electric cargo bikes restocking localized dark stores without ever causing a traffic jam,
Yeah.
will the sheer overwhelming convenience of zero-emission, instant delivery eventually eliminate the need for physical retail storefronts entirely?
Oh, wow.
We might be watching our dynamic, shop-lined city neighborhoods slowly transform into purely residential zones, serviced entirely by an invisible, highly efficient logistics machine.
A city where you never have to go to the store, because the store just perfectly, quietly comes to you.
Mm-hmm.
Something to really think about the next time you tap that button.